In this video, we'll learn how to prepare and attach two pinch pots together to create an open form that can then be cut into. And this will eventually get designs added onto and become our phone holder that can amplify sound from the speaker on our phone. The first thing we'll want to make sure of is that both of the openings are the same size and the same shape. And you'll see me here taking a sharp tool and just cutting off the top edge to make it really even so that my two pinch pots can fit together without a seam. And I noticed there's one little space that's a bit lower, so you can see I added on a tiny bit of clay there just so that they match perfectly up. Now I'm using a fork to scratch the surface and create lots of roughness, and those little rough areas on both sides of my pinch pot will create kind of fingers so that when I add the slip onto that surface, they can grab together and form a bond, so it creates one smooth surface. So now I'm going to get the slip out, and that is just a mixture of clay with a lot of water mixed evenly, and I'm applying it with a paintbrush, and I'm trying my best to not smooth out those rough areas that I created with my fork. We want those to stay really textured so that they can grab onto each other when I press and wiggle these pinch pots together. So I'm trying my best to not collapse the pinch pots to create that form, so I'm handling it gently. And you want to kind of press the seams in really carefully so that the two openings stay together. It's actually a good thing if you see a little slip coming out at that seam, because it means that you've got enough on there and it's really creating a bond and spreading together, and you can gently smooth over that seam with your thumb or your finger. If you have any gaps where your pinch pots didn't exactly line up, you could take a little wet clay and kind of smooth in and fill in those gaps, or you could wait until you cut your openings in that pinch pot later and see if you can press them back out and even them up from the inside. And before we do any cutting into this form, we know it's hollow on the inside. It's going to stay stronger if we leave it solid. So I am actually going to attach all of my details that I'd like to create first before I cut the openings for my phone. So you can see that I rolled a coil here. I'm going to turn this into like a vine growing across my piece. So I'm scratching my piece, and I'm going to scratch the bottom edge of the coil to keep it intact as much as possible and create those textured fingers again so that when I put slip there that they can grab onto each other. So I'm laying the slip on top of that texture. You can see I just kind of push and wiggle that coil and add a little slip if I need a little bit more, and then you can use the back of your fingernail to spread any of that excess slip that might squeeze out and to really make sure that it's attached and smoothed onto the surface. So I'm just working in pieces here. I did a little bit of a coil, and then I'm making a little bit longer piece to kind of wrap down and around. I'm going to add leaves and different things onto this as well. So I'm going to do that all before I cut into this piece, because it will kind of keep its strength a bit better if I keep it as one whole piece. The more openings I cut, the weaker it will get, and it won't hold its shape as easily. If you have already cut openings in your piece and you need to give it some strength because it's collapsing a bit, you can always ball up a plastic bag and place it inside of your clay just to help it keep its shape a bit better. And as always, we want to wrap our piece up really well and make sure as much of our plastic bag is touching the surface of the clay as possible. And this will keep it wet and workable so we can continue to work on it each day and it doesn't dry out.